Hey everyone, I'm Oliver Kovács, a Hungarian composer. In this video I'll discuss why most trailer music sounds the same and how to make your composition stand out. I'll also present my trailer music for a video game which doesn't follow the old, but to be honest, very generic formula of epic drums and braams sounds. In my opinion, music is for expressing emotions, and if someone just follows a formula without putting any original ideas into it, the result might sound polished, but ultimately soulless. Let's get started. I created a very generic trailer track to illustrate what's wrong with this kind of music. It uses nothing but epic drums, a braam sound, a whoosh sound, and some synth textures from various libraries. Sure, it sounds polished, but it completely lacks what I would call real personality. It's just a trailer track by the book, technically competent, but void of creativity and meaning. And that's exactly the kind of music AI is going to replace. Not human creativity, not emotional depth, not knowledge and intent. So if you're fine with being replaced by a machine, go ahead and follow the formula. But if you want to stand out, start by finding your own voice. You don't have to take my word for it, but not everything that comes out of LA is gold. The more generic a piece of music is, and the more similar sounding examples exist, the easier it is for AI to identify statistical patterns. The trailer itself is made for an independent sci-fi video game. I composed the entire soundtrack for this game. If you want to learn more about it, check out the link in the description. I used orchestral instruments, epic drums, synthesizers, and a male choir. In my opinion, the epic drums and synthesizers fit very well with the sci-fi theme. I thought it would be helpful to break the trailer into parts. The first part is the intro. Here I incorporated a bass synth and an ethereal pet synth to establish a space atmosphere. I think this worked very well. Before we begin, I'd like to let you know that the MIDI files and project files for these pieces are available on my Patreon page for supporters, just like all the MIDI and project files for my YouTube videos. If you find my content helpful and interesting, please consider supporting the channel. Thank you! The second part starts when this monumental sci-fi building appears on the screen. I wanted something triumphant and majestic because of the epicness of this scene. That's why brass instruments dominate here, especially the trumpet. The third part is when the main villain shows up. In here, the main instrument is the French horn because it conveys epicness and has a darker quality than the trumpet. The fourth section is when we first see this giant spaceship. The male choir and the electric guitar take center stage here as they bring a gloomy and depressive character thanks to the proper chord progression and melody. Of course, epic drums could reinforce this somber and militaristic atmosphere. At the very end, the woodwind instruments come in and convey a little relief and hope with the high strings. In the first part, the chord progression is brighter. I used major, major seventh, and half diminished seventh chords here because these can establish the triumphant and cinematic atmosphere. Let's take a look at the chord progression. In the first half of the second part, also brighter chords dominate, but in the second half, there's a modulation from G major to E minor. I incorporated more diminished and minor chords here to achieve a darker and more somber mood. It's also true on the third part. In the fourth section, I use the darker mode, the Phrygian mode. It's excellent to establish an unsettled mood. At the very end, the piece modulates to E major, providing a sense of resolution and closure. As you can see, the instrumentation, the melody, and the chord progression follow what we see on the screen. My advice is to try to use the proper chord progression and scale to convey a specific mood and establish a certain atmosphere. For example, if you want to express something really dark and unsettling, consider the Phrygian or Locrian modes, but for an uplifting mood, use the Lydian mode or the major scale. But what about the tempo? It's a crucial factor if you want the music to follow what's happening in the scenes. A well chosen tempo can emphasize the rhythm of the action, whether it's a fast paced chase or a slow, emotional moment. If the music is too fast, it can feel out of place during a quiet or peaceful scene. On the other hand, a tempo that's too slow might weaken the impact of a dramatic or intense sequence. Matching the tempo to the visuals helps create a seamless connection between the music and the story.